Much of what we believe today about the basic structure of human consciousness is built on the work of Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. As I mentioned in part 1 of this video, Jung's ideas are key to understanding the tarot, so I want to take a moment to talk about more of his ideas. Previously, I talked about Jung's notion of archetypes and how their symbolic language is the language used by the tarot to answer our questions. Sigmund Freud sketched out the division of consciousness into a conscious and an unconscious mind. The conscious mind is your waking mind, where the thoughts and the memories of your everyday life take place. It's where your ego, your sense of identity, lives. The unconscious mind is a part of consciousness that is outside your conscious awareness. It's where your drives, motives, desires, fears, and a lifetime of beliefs and programming, as well as suppressed or forgotten memories, live. One way commonly used to imagine the unconscious mind is as a deeper layer of consciousness just below your conscious mind. Much like an iceberg, your conscious mind appears above the surface of your awareness and is a relatively small part of your total consciousness, while your unconscious mind is below the surface, hidden from sight, and a much larger portion of the whole. Usually, the only way to know what is in your unconscious mind is to recall and analyze the contents of your dreams, which are said to originate from the unconscious mind. Jung believed the unconscious mind itself actually existed in 2 layers, one deeper than the other. The portion of your unconscious mind immediately below your conscious mind could be called your personal unconscious, which I usually call the subconscious mind. Its contents are specific and unique to your life's experience. But below your personal subconscious is a deeper and larger level of consciousness that Jung called the collective unconscious. This level of the unconscious mind is common to all human beings. It contains the accumulated and blended memories, drives, and shared concepts of the entire human race. Initially, Jung believed the collective unconscious to be genetic in nature, passed down across generations. But he later came to see this pool of consciousness as a kind of energetic wellspring from which all of our individual consciousness arises, and to which all our individual consciousness remains connected throughout our lives. While I don't know personally if Jung took the idea this far, my own belief is that there is a still deeper layer of consciousness below that of the collective unconscious. That layer is the layer of the divine mind, or the mind of God. I believe all physical reality is a product of an ongoing dream within the mind of God. I believe that human beings are characters created in that dream, like characters we create in our dreams. The dreaming mind of God manifests the collective unconscious, and from that layer arises our personal subconscious and then our conscious minds. Information and ideas flow between these layers, informing and influencing them in both directions. In our own dreams, information from these deeper layers of consciousness bubbles up in a random, unbidden way. We can interpret our dreams, but that information can be hard to solicit in response to direct questions. What the tarot offers is a way for the conscious mind to ask questions of these deeper layers of consciousness and provide a mechanism for answers to surface in our conscious awareness. But like dreams, the answers require interpretation. Jung believed that archetypes arise from the collective unconscious, making them universal to human experience and finding their way into many myths across cultures as well as in the content of individual dreams. Archetypes are highly symbolic and potent representations that speak to human awareness. And it was Jung who was among the first to point to the 78 pictorial representations of human characters and situations in the tarot as examples of archetypes. Another important idea of Jung's that might explain the operation of the tarot goes to the point of how the answers to our questions are channeled to us. The answers themselves come from one or more layers of deeper consciousness, from our own subconscious, the collective unconscious, or the mind of God. Those answers are expressed in the form of archetypes that are universal to the human mind, even as subject to interpretation. But how do those answers get translated from the unseen and intangible world of consciousness to a specific sequence of archetypes revealed in the very physical form of cards in a tarot spread? Put simply, synchronicity. Synchronicity was the word Jung gave to a phenomenon by which 2 events in the physical world which did not have a normal cause and effect connection to each other might actually nevertheless be connected. he often described synchronicity as meaningful coincidence, in which the relationship between events was conceptual and psychological or emotional rather than physical. An example of synchronicity is often found when you think about someone, and moments later they call you unexpectedly on the phone. The thing that distinguishes synchronicity from garden variety coincidence is the meaning that associates related events to the person experiencing them. In 1952, Jung published a paper, Synchronicity and a Causal Connecting Principle, along with a related study by Wolfgang Pauli, who was a physicist, Nobel laureate, and longtime friend of Jung's, as well as one of the founders of quantum mechanics. The emergence of interconnection as a key narrative in both the fields of human psychology as well as in physics did not happen by accident. The exchanges between Jung and Pauli helped each develop and evolve their individual ideas. Pauli's most famous contribution to physics is called the exclusion principle. It explains how electrons occupy unique energy states in the structure of atoms, forming all the distinct chemical elements we know. What's fascinating about the exclusion principle is the way subatomic particles with the same energy states avoid each other through a type of energetic dance each has that is both random and yet seemingly ordered within the atom in a completely acausal way. So both the exclusion principle and synchronicity have in common the idea that events with no direct cause and effect relationship somehow manifest orderly patterns. Within an atom, no two electrons can occupy the same energy state, forming the complex energy orbitals around the nucleus. And in synchronicity, events transpire that have only a connection of meaning to a particular individual that clusters them together. This absence of causality is important in a couple of key respects regarding use of the tarot as a tool of divination. The deck used in a reading produces a sequence of cards in a pattern that responds to the seeker's question without any direct cause and effect connection that arranges them. Second, and perhaps more interestingly, is since causality dictates that cause must precede effect in time, a lack of causality may allow an effect to materialize without any regard to when in time it occurs compared to all the other events by which synchronicity connects it. In the first part of this video, I said it was essential for the person asking a question of the tarot to be touching the deck, to be the person shuffling the cards while mentally focused on their question. This physical contact is the strongest possible way to bring the energy field of the seeker's consciousness into interaction with the physical system of the deck itself. The focus of the seeker's mind on their question transmits both the content of the question and the intent to receive an answer into the deeper levels of consciousness. And the energy of that process not only prompts an answer, but through synchronicity translates the answer into specific archetypes that are ordered into the proper position within the tarot deck itself. Sound too strange to believe? Then let's shift gears a bit and talk about cats. Quantum mechanics is a branch of physics that began to take shape in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. It arose out of questions from observations made about the energy states of atoms and the nature of light as a particle or a wave. One of the pioneers of this science, upon which much of our modern technology was built, was Erwin Schrödinger. One of the features of quantum mechanics is the idea that many attributes of reality at the subatomic level exist in undefined or uncertain states. When we set up experiments to observe these uncertain traits, our experiments drive out the uncertainty. We force reality to become certain by measuring it. This phenomenon was described by Schrödinger in a series of famous equations called the Schrödinger wave functions. But it was a hard thing to explain, so Schrödinger came up with a thought experiment that made the idea more concrete to imagine. This is the famous Schrödinger's cat experiment. In this experiment, a cat is placed inside a sealed box that is entirely opaque. Once closed, we can't see inside the box at all. Attached to the box is a device that relies on the wave functions to produce a random outcome, say by using the possible decay of a radioactive atom. When the experiment is activated, the device will either flood the interior of the box with a poison gas or not, based on the random atomic event. So the cat either lives or dies. What the wave equations describe is what happens inside the box between the instant the device is activated and the moment we open the box. According to the math, the state of reality when the fate of the cat is unobserved and unknown is surreal. The cat exists in multiple simultaneous states. In one, the cat lives, and in the other, it dies. and only when we open the box and observe the result does the wave function collapse and only one outcome is seen. Human awareness drives out the uncertainty, and at random one of the alternatives persists. As a side note, there's a bit of disagreement about how to interpret Schrödinger's wave functions. The most common interpretation is called the Copenhagen interpretation. It argues that the equations only describe probability and not actual reality. But since we can't see inside the box, we can't really know for certain. And even if reality actually splits up, that phenomenon only happens temporarily and within the locality inside the box. But another interpretation, one that I find more appealing, is the many worlds theory. In the many worlds theory, activating the experiment splits the entire universe into two copies, one containing a live cat and one containing a dead one. Every time the universe can take more than one path, it divides and takes them all. Anything that can happen in the universe happens in at least one of its copies. Your life and its experience would then be just one of an infinite number of possible paths through a constantly dividing maze of parallel realities. What does this have to do with the tarot? Two things. One is the random nature of the outcome. In the case of Kitty, a random atomic decay. In the case of the tarot, a random shuffling of the cards. The other thing is the unknown state of the result once it is being randomized that only resolves itself when we look at the outcome. In the case of Kitty, the box is shut so the feline's fate is unknown until we open the door. In the case of the tarot, the cards are dealt face down and their final order unknown until the cards are turned up during the reading. The tarot deck becomes the Schrödinger's cat experiment. While the cards are being shuffled, the deck exists in multiple simultaneous states. The exact number of possibilities is a function of the number of the cards in the deck and the permutations for their order. Until the cards are turned up and revealed to human observers, the order of the deck is in flux that is only resolved by human consciousness. One of the implications of quantum mechanics is that the objective observer does not exist, that the act of observation integrates any watching consciousness into the observed process as a participant in ways that may shape the outcome. The act of dealing the cards face down into a spread solidifies the expectation in the seeker's mind that an answer to their question has taken form. This expectation, turned to conviction in the consciousness of the seeker, may be what actually resolves the final state of the deck, including the order of cards already dealt. The acausal nature of synchronicity perhaps engages a form of retrocausality in which the psychological impact of a moment of truth, an answer dealt from the deck, on the seeker may propagate backward in time to affect the order of the cards. The conscious and subconscious minds of the seeker, the collective unconscious, and the mind of God all play a role through an acausal relationship of meaning, of synchronicity, in deciding the final state of the deck, the final ordering of archetypes to convey meaning in response to the question asked. So the tarot is a system by which information is relayed from beyond the awareness of the conscious mind in the form of archetypes that are arranged and revealed to the seeker by means of synchronicity facilitated by the uncertainty within quantum mechanics. The tarot is a metaphysical device that relies on some of the strangest and least understood behaviors of our reality, using the mind of the seeker to interact with the field of universal consciousness to which it is joined and triggering changes seen in physical reality that convey unique symbolic meaning. I don't believe the tarot can foretell the future, but it can shed light on patterns and influences both within your own being and in the circumstances of your life, allowing you to use your free will to navigate into your future informed and ready to take advantage of helpful trends or mitigate unfavorable situations. I'd love to know what you think about this video. You can write me at the email address on the screen. My thanks to God for this chance to share with you, and may the gifts of love, joy, peace, and enlightenment come to you all.